Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different, really digging into a quite surprising botanical find. It comes from a set of Notes on Gardening, part 604, actually just published 2 days ago. And the story behind it is pretty interesting. Imagine, just taking an evening walk, maybe through one of those new housing developments, and something just catches your eye. That's basically how this discovery happened. It's a great example, really, of how you can get some, well, solid knowledge pretty quickly and from places you wouldn't expect. So the star today is this evergreen tree, uh, Syzygium Zeylanicum. That's the scientific name. Most people would probably know it as Spicate Eugenia.
Yeah, and the notes mention something quite telling, numerous attempts to actually identify it. That little phrase, it really suggests a bit of a puzzle for the gardener. You can almost feel that aha moment when they finally figured it out.
Exactly. And the thing that first grabbed their attention, the thing that stood out, it was these really distinctive white fruits or berries. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. What's so special about these white berries? Why were they the main draw?
Well, first off, the color transition itself is quite striking, from a pale green to this, really pure white. That's unusual. But what the notes really highlight, and what's botanically quite interesting, is that each berry has this little sort of crown-like structure on top.
A crow.
Yeah, exactly. It's what's called the persistent calyx. Basically, leftover bits from the flower, the sepals, and petals that just stay stuck to the fruit as it develops.
Yeah.
For someone trying to ID a plant, seeing a prominent calyx like that, well, it often points towards certain plant families. In this case, Myrtaceae, which is right for Syzygium.
Ah, okay, so it's not just a decorative little quirk.
Not at all.
Well, it's a clue.
It tells you something about its evolutionary history, its family tree, maybe something to do with protecting the seed or how it gets dispersed. Hard to say for sure, but it's significant.
That's fascinating. So it tells a story. You mentioned the numerous attempts at identification earlier. What kind of challenges might someone face trying to identify a plant like this, especially, finding it in a new housing development? That seems like an odd spot.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really good point. It's a common problem in these kinds of environments. So you find a plant and you're immediately wondering, is this a native species that somehow survived all the construction? Or is it something someone planted, ornamental maybe, that's just doing well because the ground's all disturbed? Or maybe even something that's escaped from someone's garden nearby.
Right, so many possibilities.
Exactly. The notes don't spell out the exact steps taken, but you can bet it involved some really close looking. Checking the growth habit, how the leaves are arranged, the flower details if there were any flowers, maybe even sending off a sample or using botanical keys. The fact it took numerous attempts strongly suggests it wasn't like a super common or obvious plant for that area.
Makes the final identification feel like more of an achievement then.
Definitely. It underlines that this wasn't just a quick glance. It was proper observation, maybe even a bit of detective work.
Okay, so besides being tricky to ID and having these neat crowned berries, did Gardner's notes say anything about its role, ecologically speaking?
Yes, they did. And this is quite important. The notes confirm that even though the pulp on the berries is pretty thin, they're actually a valuable food source for local wildlife. Birds, squirrels, they eat them.
Oh, interesting. So even in a brand new development.
Right. It shows how these urban green spaces, even the really new ones, can sometimes support biodiversity in ways we don't always expect. They provide resources. And here's the other kicker. The notes also state clearly that these berries are edible for humans.
Really? Edible?
Yep, edible, which adds, a whole other layer of unexpected value to this find.
Wow. So you've got this visually striking plant. It helps out local wildlife. And you can eat the berries, all found in a new housing estate. That's quite something. It really does show how much there is to discover if you just look closely, even in seemingly mundane places.
And it also says something about the value of these kinds of notes, doesn't it? Notes on Gardening Part 604. It's like citizen science in action. People sharing observations, building knowledge piece by piece, often about things that, formal scientific surveys might miss entirely.
That's a great point. Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive here, we've looked into these gardener's notes about Spicate Eugenia. We've traced the journey from spotting something unusual to the careful identification, focusing on those unique white berries, going from pale green to white with that little crown on top. It shows what persistence and a keen eye can uncover.
Absolutely. And connecting the dots, like you said, this discovery really highlights the hidden value that can be found in unexpected corners, particularly in our cities and suburbs. Those berries, yeah, they might seem small, not much pulp, but they matter for local wildlife. And as the source confirms, they're a food source for people too, which is pretty remarkable.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, maybe it's just a reminder, a reminder to perhaps look a little bit closer the next time you're out and about, because you genuinely never know what interesting facts, what valuable little insights might be growing quite literally right under your nose, even in places you see every day.
And that does leave us with a rather intriguing question to think about, doesn't it? What other hidden gems, edible plants, ecologically important species might be hiding in plain sight all around us, just waiting for someone to notice, maybe even in your own backyard or local park?